Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. If you guys wanted to head on over to patreon.com/jonathanrector, I have a bunch of resources on there that you guys can get for a little financial thanks on your part, which would be awesome if anybody's interested in that. And everybody that came to the pre-show, everybody that's been following me here on Picarto.tv, thank you guys so much. I keep getting more and more followers on this site, which is great. Seeing some familiar faces pop in and out when you guys get a chance, when I'm streaming throughout the week, when it's just music, all that good stuff to it. But again, thank you so much for that. And I just wanted to ask one more time as well, if you guys wouldn't mind, at the very bottom here at Picarto.tv, there's a whole bunch of buttons. You can click tweet, share, Facebook, Google+, Tumblr, all those good things. If you guys wouldn't mind just giving a little click to those to share with your buddies and your friends, that would be awesome. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. And if you guys are watching here on YouTube, you can come into the live show where normally you guys have seen me talk or heard me talk and all that good stuff. That's every Wednesday, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Usually I do a little bit of a pre-show. All that is just recording with some music. And if you guys are interested in just watching me work, just working with music, sometimes I'll have a mic on, depends how the day's going. Follow me here on Picarto.tv. That's enough plugs with all that stuff. So like usual, this hour is meant for you guys. However, this the project Worlds in Peril that I'm working on, it has a pretty intense due date. The deadline is very intense. So this is what I'm going to be working on. However, please ask questions. If I'm able to answer any of your questions, I'll definitely do that. Critique. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, if you got a critique on my work, sure, by all means, go ahead. I appreciate that. So if you guys are interested, I can talk about what's going on here. I won't be spending too much time in here because I know it can be pretty boring, but I will do a little bit of this just for those that are watching on YouTube and they don't get a chance to see this that often. And it's, excuse me, it's cheating. We're going to cheat real hard. I will talk about this real quick. Okay, so there's this cityscape here. This I don't think it's definitely not New York, but it looks like it's based off New York. This is just a Google SketchUp model. I try to find detailed city, type that. One day I would like to go in here and make my own. It's very easy to actually make just something like this. Putting the buildings and all that stuff on there, that's the hard part, okay? But yes, this is just a generic model that I found, a city model that I found on Google SketchUp. And I'm not sure how I obtained this. I want to say I bought it or it was given to me. Freddie Williams, you guys all know how much I talk about him with the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics. He provides a bunch of tools. And there's one here that he has. It's like a little plugin where you can just click this and it'll automatically turn anything into just these boxes. Now, you still have to put windows on there, but I'll be honest with you guys, as much as I like designing like compositions for cityscapes and stuff, there's a lot of mileage you can get with just this sort of thing. So whether or not you literally trace over like, well, I don't even trace anymore. I just export it at a very high resolution and then just slap it in. And then I'll go in there and I'll bang this up after I add some windows and stuff like that. It's just once I found this workflow for cities and buildings and these non-organic things, it just helps me so much produce more stories and more content. I won't get into the argument about some people prefer just actually drawing a background. Some people don't mind this. Some people look at this and they hate it. That's fine. That's all preference and style. Whatever gets your workflow going. I just want to talk a little bit about this because I know there are people out there that would be interested in it. So I'll just quickly go through the process here so you guys can kind of see how this is going. So let's just say I was going for whatever here. So I'm going to just go to 3D Warehouse, get models. I believe this is an older version of SketchUp. I haven't updated it. I don't know why. I'm just too lazy. This thing to load here. So I would just type in, you know, city. Let's just see what it comes up with, city. And maybe we're doing like a Batman kind of book or something like that. So I kind of want like maybe like a gothic kind of city. So you can even get a little, whoops, gothic city. See what happens. You never know if some talented people have already uploaded content with this stuff. And what you're looking for is, okay, so like this here too, this Gilneas City, is that how it's pronounced? You're kind of looking for stuff that's not heavily textured. Like, if you look at this picture here, it might be hard for you guys to see, but there's a model of a church with looks like a Google Maps image underneath. That's not going to give you what you need. You need rectangles and squares and circles. Okay. Uh, yeah. What the hell? I guess we could try this here. Whatever. This Gilneas City. Let's take a look at it. Sure. Okay, so this isn't looking like Batman at all. This is probably looking more like a fantasy book. You know what I mean? Load this directly in. Yes. And what you're kind of looking for is to say thank you to the people that have already done the hard work of carving out these shapes and stuff already. Now, what you can do afterwards, what you guys saw me do in the pre-show, is I took this, added a perspective grid in it in Manga Studio so that I can go ahead and add any details that I'm going to be adding later so that it's in the correct perspective. And I can add buildings, I can subtract buildings. It's not a big deal. So I'm just going to click there. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's massive. Jeez. Look at that leg. Ugh. Okay, so a lot of the textures, it looks like, oh no, the textures are there. So anyway, you'd go up here and, where is it? It's right here, Digi Quick Tool Line View. So you just click it, and what it does is just strips away everything. You can do this manually, you don't have to pay for this. But it's cool to have. And there you go, like now you can go in here, like, you don't have to necessarily worry about composing shots 100%, right? Like you can have like a shot like this with a nice moon. Maybe there's you got your character flying over the city here, and then with your perspective in there, you can go ahead and draw stuff. Like maybe up in the top right here, I want to have a giant sign. Maybe we're actually on like the floor of a tavern or something. So there might be posts sticking up like this in the extreme foreground, a character leaning on it. Like there's a lot of ways that you can go ahead in there and just abuse this stuff. This is one thing that I will say now, and this is just me being a big fan of digital artwork, is that we live in a time right now where this is possible, where this wasn't necessarily possible, or it was very difficult for people to do back in the day, whether they would just trace a photograph that they took, things like that. So I believe as much as you need to know your fundamentals of just drawing, that doesn't take away from stuff like this that gets you to where you need to go quicker. Okay, but you still need to learn the fundamentals with perspective. Okay, I don't want anybody in the chat, or don't get me wrong, I've always looked for shortcuts too. When I look at something like this, I'm like, I'd never have to draw backgrounds again. Boom, copy this, paste it in whatever program and draw over top of it. But then I need to add something. Maybe I need to add a big building here, or I have to actually create a building. And if I don't understand perspective, I can't do that, or it's gonna look really whack. So don't get stuck into that. Don't be one of those guys or girls. Okay. Let me just see here. I think it's styles right here. And this little pop-up will show up. Let's see if I can bring it over here. Because I don't, like, you can just get these lines on everything, that's fine. But I like to go in and go to, which one is it? Depth. Okay, that's the one. You can tell I've got it on 4. It looks a little gross right now, but you can play with it so that certain lines in the foreground will have a thicker outline on it. And then you can always adjust that stuff later. Just so if you wanted to play around with a little bit of like thicker lines, you can always adjust the number and stuff like that. Okay? So I just wanted to show you guys that. So we brought it into here. And now what we're doing is we're doing the big cheats and stuff. I bought this from Freddie Williams, again, his site. You can buy it. I recommend it. I think it's a fantastic resource. If doing backgrounds is something that you're interested in. Let me just click off this. Okay, well, for whatever reason, you're going to see it. But this is how his file comes, and it's got all these like paths for buildings here. I've already included a whole bunch more that I've done personally into this file, so it's all in one spot. I forget how much this was, but I talked about this during the last night, I think, just during our casual stream, about how much time it would take you to make this based on the cost. It's probably worth it to do that, okay? The ones that I've made, they are in here, but they're not in this list. This is just an image that I kept from when I purchased this thing. I don't know where they are. They're like mixed in here. Maybe they're near the bottom. Yeah, so these would have been like mine. These are all the faces I made, these kinds of things. There's some textures. I kept it all in there. Fences, grid. And I always like showing this because I feel people always kind of get a kick out of this. Some superhero logos. You guys know the ones I did for the standard. The skunk, who's in the standard. I did one for Superman for a sketch that I was doing. All great things. They just speed up the workflow. Unfortunately, Manga Studio doesn't have these paths like this. I know you can bring in, I forget what it's called. It's almost like a pre-drawn face, and then you just distort it, but it never comes out good, in my opinion, in Manga Studio. So if it's just an emblem, you can always bring this into Photoshop and then turn it into bitmap, bring it back into Manga Studio or whatever. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But anyway, so it's a great resource to do. So bring the face. You guys are going to see me do it, and we're going to go in here, and we're going to do. I'm not. I noticed somebody else in the chat asked if I'm going to do every single one of these. If this was like a comic book, perhaps I would. But when this is printed, it's not going to be that large. Okay, it'll be large enough, but I'm just going to put colors in the background. I really don't think it matters. And in the sky here, we have to have some falling spaceship kind of things on fire. So it's a really cool image that we get to do. And it'll be really fun. Unfortunately, again, here comes me just complaining. The deadline I do have, I can't make it look as beautiful as I'd like it to. I just need to be functional, serve its purpose, get the message across. That's the number one most important thing, is to tell that story. And other things have to take that hit. So dramatic lighting, perhaps. I can't go in here and figure it out because it just there's no time to do that sort of thing. But enough talking. Let's get into it. I just want to scroll back up to the chat here just to kind of see what you guys are saying. Going back to the critique thing. Oh, somebody else has. Okay, I might be able to check out the critiques. Remind me in about 50 minutes, and I'll see if I can quickly go through it for you. And Lars is saying, Jonathan, have you thought about my request/wish on finishing Worlds in Peril on a Wednesday and playing the Rocky Balboa song? Yes, I've thought about it. Unfortunately, I don't think. Let me just double check here. Yeah, this month ends in a Tuesday. So if I'm able to hit this deadline, it won't work. If I'm not, we'll see how it goes. If things were to work out that way, it'd be great. I just don't see it, but you never know. You'll be dead in 50 minutes. Sorry, there's not much I can do about that. Okay, so let's we're gonna do a couple buildings here. Let me just see. I don't want to get too complicated with some of these ones because there is a little bit of an issue that happens when you start getting these creative patterns. Like there's a lot of faces in here, and that's why it takes a lot of work. It looks really cool when you're able to add a lot of faces in there. Faces are these, just so you guys are talking the same language. Like this building face here and this building face here. Going in here and doing each corner is really cool. Let me just see. Maybe I don't even need to. Maybe we'll just do a couple faces right here just for these two. This side here. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm off screen here. I'm just clicking around, trying to see a building face that looks good that we can use. I'm trying to look for something that's a little simple. I don't want a lot of detail because that image is smaller. That building face is smaller, so adding a lot of detail in there is just going to make it look muddy, and it doesn't come out very well. Let's see if we got like a simple. That one might be okay. Yeah, what the hell? We'll try this one here. So copy. Gonna come into here and we'll make a new layer here. I'm just gonna copy paste. So here we go. Now I need a bunch of faces. I need to copy and paste this, right? So what I like to do is the very first one I bring in, I'm just going to resize it to roughly, the size that it'll be. We'll say it's there. That's sure. See what goes. And then I'm just going to click and drag onto the new so we can duplicate it. So now I can always duplicate the next face that we'll need. So let me just go back to the layers here, turn our perspective lines on, make a new layer, and we're going to go back to the paths there. And oops, let me just full screen this so I can actually move around the canvas. Alright, so Control T to transform. What we're doing is we're just lining it up here. And it doesn't have to be that exact because these are pretty far back in the distance. Distort's what you're going to want. So you click that. I used to just pick a corner and go. I find that there's an easier way to manipulate things. You just get one corner, pick the other corner that you'd like, line that one up, and then I'll show you what you're grabbing after that. Again, it can be close. It doesn't have to be perfect. The closer the buildings are to you, where you can actually see mistakes, then I'd be concerned. But what you're looking for is these middle ones here. So we can move it like this. That's correct. And we're going to click this guy, and we're going to move him, slide it into the correct perspective there. And this one's got to come up. So right now I'm kind of eyeballing. A lot of the times what I'll do is I'll actually grab a real life ruler, and I'll just put it on the screen. Actually just do that right now. And what that lets me do is I can figure out where these points are supposed to be based on the perspective. Just like you would do, and this is again going back to why I was talking about understanding perspective, because this sort of thing here is what you need to do to problem solve stuff. And it might not sound fun, it's not glamorous, but unfortunately, I think a lot of comic book work is work, right? And the glamour can't be the focus of what you're doing. If it is, you're probably just doing like pinups and covers and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that, but being able to like understand perspective will help your figure work, all that cabbage. So you guys got any questions? What projects are you guys working on? What are you guys up to today? There's a little button down here. I just click that nowadays, stroke path. Now what might happen is, let's look at that. That looks good. Sometimes I might lower the size of the brush. Right now it's 3 pixels, so we'll click B. We're going to go to 2, and we're going to try it again. And that looks better. It's a little bit cleaner. It's not as jumbled. Alright, so let's do that again. And we're going to transform. Noah's working on his Batman portfolio comic. That's awesome. Hey, how's that going? I've only seen, I think, just that one page. Michael just got off work, and he's going to go do something creative. Hey, Brett Strong, your name looks familiar, but I'm not sure if you've been in here before. I want to say you have. Drawing a Predator pinup. Oh, man. And then you might start writing your new comic. Oh, wow. Are you anything like me, where you get stuck on starting new comics because you have to write, and you get all these really cool ideas, and then everything slows down once it's like time for the script? And Donald's trying to get caught up on his webcomic buffer. It's really cool to see a bunch of guys in here that are all like, some people are working on portfolios, some people are working on their own stuff. Donald's the only one that I know. You guys can let me know if anybody else in here has an actual webcomic themselves. It's really cool just, again, seeing all the stuff that everybody's working on. It's like such a diverse group of people. Like, it's all comics, you know what I mean? Which is great. The theme is comics, but everybody's got like their own little passion project, or maybe you guys are doing some work too. It's pretty cool. All right, let's just get a ruler out here and take a look. Yeah, it looks about good. And we'll just double check with the lines that we've already got here. And this isn't fun, I realize that, so thanks for sticking with me here while we get this going. Even though this is how this is, and it's easy, I still hate it. I don't. It's not that I don't like the way it looks. I actually like the way this looks. It looks better than any buildings I would ever do, obviously. But it is boring. It's very boring to do. However, let's just say, and this is a cool thing too, guys. I could reuse this image just for fun, like a sketch that I wanted. Nobody would really know the background. Maybe I'd change a face or two. Maybe I just do this, right? We just go, okay, screw it. We're going to flip it horizontally. It's a different shot. It's a little greasy that way, but we could totally put, like, I could have some fun in here and put Spider-Man swinging through, fighting somebody coming right at us. Like, there's a lot going on that you can do with this sort of thing. And what's really fun about digital, too, you know, I'll pimp digital all day. But if you ever wanted just ideas for sketchbooks, if you guys ever open up, like, a white piece of canvas, you know, like, you just file new, you're starting new, and there's nothing there, you're just like, ugh. You're just kind of, nothing's happening. After a while, after you've done a few digital pieces or comic pages, you can grab panels like this. This is perfect. And you just copy the background, paste it in a new file, and just draw characters in it. It's an interesting way to think about how to construct sketches and warm-ups and figure drawing, perspective drawing, all that kind of stuff can get whittled into this, which is very cool. If you're ever getting stuck, like I know some people, they get what's it called, artist block, I like to call it. So it's a really cool way to help with that. All right, so let me just right click here. Can I explode this? Is that what it's called? There's a button here, I believe. Is it this one? Oh, no. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Let me turn that off. You guys don't need to hear that. Aristocrato? Sorry, it's a little hard to see your name. It's all white. Yep. I've made a few of these, but I would highly recommend going over to freddyart.com, FREDDIE.com, freddyart.com, and go to his DigiArt Quick Tools section. You can buy a whole bunch of these faces already done to get you started and move around like that. Very cool stuff. Now, oh, that's not good. There's a way here. It's one of these things. What is it? Is it that? Oh. There's a way here, and what I'm trying to do is just break up these selections so that I can just select one. Nope. Okay, well, whatever. Yeah, everybody hates drawing. Everybody hates drawing buildings, and the thing is, if we all want to do comic books, American comic books with superheroes, guess what? Guess what? They all live in cities. You believe that? And then there's cars and all kinds of stuff. They can be really fun to draw. I like designing stuff. That's more fun for me. But I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of this stuff. But it's a necessary evil. Spider-Man doesn't look cool. I remember I got this one issue of Spider-Man. He was in like, where was he? Africa or something, and it was like the bushes of Africa, man. And he was looking for some other dude that had spider powers or something like that. You guys know who I'm talking about if you're a big Spider-Man fan. And so he's out there, and he was not as cool as seeing him swinging around like Manhattan. That's where he's from. You know what I mean? Like that's half of the allure. Is like, okay, spider power is cool, but like swinging around a giant city. I don't live in a city. I walk by some big buildings every day. But where I live, they're not even any kind of really big building. And, there's the allure of if you're a kid or something, or an adult too. Hell, that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's cool to just daydream every now and then, right? And look out the window and just like, wouldn't it be sweet to just fly right now? Just open the window. All right, see you guys. I'm going for a fly. And just fly around or just web swing around. Like, that's cool stuff, right? And, yeah, I don't know. That's its own thing. So when we're drawing our heroes and stuff, we don't can't just bring them to Africa. I mean, I guess it's cool for a couple story things, but if we're trying to work for Marvel or DC or really anything with a superhero, for the most part, right? It's all cities. Maybe you get like the space superheroes and stuff, but even then, regardless, it all comes down to perspective, right? And your fundamentals and stuff. So. Alright, so we're going to make a new layer here. Stroke that again. Alright, now this is what happens here sometimes. We get in these little weird spots. I'm actually going to kill this line here. Just because it kind of feels weird there. And look at this. This is how funny it is. All of that work just for this one side. Just for that one side. So I guess this is a good time to figure out where the shading is going to be in a lot of these things. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just keep going here. It's hacked by cities. Alright, so let's bring this side in. Whoop. So this side's too high. Alright, let's bring this in a bit. Cool. I actually forgot. Somebody had to tell me that it was March break. I thought it was the funniest thing. It's like, nowhere in my life right now does March break matter. And it was like, where are all these kids coming from right now? I was like, oh, it's March break. It's March break. Are you serious? Like, yeah, it's March. I get that. But it was just, oh my gosh. That's like so out of it I am. Today's St. Patrick's Day. Is that right? Yesterday was? I don't know. There's a holiday somewhere in here. All right, so we got that building. That one's done. So like I say, like that took quite a bit of time. It gives it a look. You kind of have to judge yourself if something's worth the time that it takes to do. I like it. Whatever. I'm not here to debate with you guys and stuff. But I just wanted a few buildings in here that look like there's some stuff on them. We're gonna do the rest in Manga Studio here. So let's get this file ready for Manga Studio. And what we're gonna do is lower this. I'm going to turn my perspective layer off because we don't need that anymore. And I may as well just take the whole image here. So we're going to save it. And we're going to go Control Shift A to select everything. Okay, let's see if that works again. Control Shift A. Cool. Nope. So just Control A. Oh my god, I've been... Okay, so there we go. We got all this. Now it's Control Alt C, I believe it is. Oh, man. Shift Control C. There we go. Shift Control C, what that does is copy all, so it copies every single thing you see as opposed to just what's on a layer. Man, I've been in Photoshop all day, you guys. After a while, it's just tunnel vision. Alright, so we're back in Manga Studio. What are we doing here? Okay, so we got this guy here. What is this? It's that layer. Okay, so let's see if this works here. Control V to paste. Cool. Work like a charm. It looks like just the face went on there. It's actually a whole image. If you guys look, I can delete all the other stuff. So what I'll do is I'll make another folder, and we're just going to group all that stuff in there. You never know when you need stuff. So I'll just call it pre-work BG. Minimize it so we can keep all our space here. Now this is the thing. Sometimes, especially Manga Studio 4, what would happen is you get these alias lines and stuff, right? And it's just kind of garbage. So to reduce the size of the image, we're going to just go to grayscale right now. Nothing happens with the lines. But like I say, usually I go to monochrome. And look what happens to a lot of the details. A lot of the details actually get sharpened up. Like this looks much more clean. Looks cool. And it kind of looks like there's like a wiggly thing happening here. Could just be my eyes. But like all the detail in this, all those are gone. Whereas if we go back to gray, like look how much detail is in there. And then when you go to monochrome, but Manga Studio lets you go in there and like adjust those things. So if that looks a little too gross to you, and this actually decreases the file size massively. Okay. So just something to think about for those of you a little concerned. Like when I was getting into Manga Studio, you guys heard me talk a lot about 600 DPI, just killing my machine. Right now this file still is 300 DPI, but the comic pages I've been doing have been up to 600 again. Now that I've made my layers gray to default because they're always color, and for some reason it just jacks the size of the file up big time. Okay, so we have that, so we're just going to save it. And we're going to just make a little, is that our perspective? I don't think we need this, but you never know. So label it, turn it off. We're going to go back into this layer, and this guy here we're going to make visible in all layers. There we go. Let's get our perspective back. We're just going to make a layer above it there, and what I'm going to do is grab our pen this time. We're going to use black. And I'm just going to throw in just a very few details. Not much with you guys here. I'm going to jump back into the other image. I think that might be a little bit more fun with a little bit of time we have left here. Let's just zoom in. And as you can see, I've got my perspective locked in. So no matter where I go, everything will flow roughly to where it's supposed to be. Sometimes you can't really get that. Well, I don't say you can't get perfect, but when you start messing around with the field of view and things in what's it called there? Google SketchUp, some things can kind of get out of whack. So I saw this triangular thing, and I figured it'd be cool to put like these shingle kind of things you guys always see on like pyramid buildings, just to give it a little bit more texture to it, so it's not just like, oh, okay, well that's a triangle. And one other cool thing too, that if you're working like this and you're trying to understand perspective a little bit better, you take these images and you bring them into Manga Studio and try to get the perspective rulers over top and try to figure out if you can, just by moving vanishing points around, you could start to understand how perspective works, how like what 1 point perspective looks like, what 2 point perspective looks like. See, so this side here, that perspective is way, there we go. It's kind of off there, but that's fine. So like here, just to show you, this is a 3 point perspective image, and it actually gives you a really cool angle. I used to do this all the time. It's not a trick, but most people, I think when you start to learn perspective, you're always taught that your perspective points are always off the page. Right? So whenever I would design a page, if there was perspective like a cityscape, my vanishing points would always be like, over here, tape a piece of paper down, over here, tape a piece of paper down, and then like, are we on the ground looking up? Okay, then we put the vanishing point up there. Are we in the sky like Superman looking down? Put the vanishing point down here. And it was fine. It's a really, it'll work. But the moment you bring one of those perspectives off and you bring it back into the image, like right here, it just adds this level of depth that just looks cool. It gives it this a little bit of flair to your image there. So you might be interested in checking that out. You might like the results you get. Alright, so what I'm doing here is we're just going to put in some like quick details. Just something to break it up. We will be putting color over this. But this kind of stuff is pretty easy to do. You don't need all that. That one's a little off. Yeah, those are off. I'm not going to mess with those. Okay, so I'm going to turn the perspective ruler off here. We're just going to make another layer. And here I'm just going to bang this up a little bit. Again, I would normally go in here and flick between white and black ink and just sort of like carve in some shapes and beat it up. Just to kind of give it a little bit more organic of a feeling as opposed to Those look like repeated shapes. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Again, it's a style thing. If you don't mind it, then don't worry about it. I've seen Marvel comics anyway. There's a few books that I look at, and a lot of the artists you can look at and you're like, okay, they did do this little trick here, and I don't know. It's not, to me. It's not that big of a deal. Probably because I do it. It's probably. I don't know if it's a problem. I know. Again, you're just trying to figure out ways that you can increase your productivity. What's that? Sorry, I just checked. Noah's saying he got figure drawing design and adventure for his birthday. Oh, awesome! Congratulations. Do you like it? Have you had a chance to read it or flip through it or anything? This one's got a lot of repeating shapes up here. So what I might actually do here is what I was talking about. A little bit of air quotes here, creative inking. Let's see if we get a shape here. No, just use our marquee tool. All right, so I'm just going to try to think of this here. What I'm trying to do is put a shadow of another building on here. Let me just zoom out. If I put it all there, yeah, we'll try it this way first, see what happens. Or the first bit? Okay. Yeah, make sure you read it. Like the actual words too. A lot of people will get those kinds of books and they'll just skip a lot of it. Or they'll just try to get right to the art. There's a lot of really important words in those books. Not that you wouldn't do those things. Just kind of taking the opportunity to preach to some other people as well. So how does this feel? How does that feel okay? Perspective, turn that off. I don't mind it. I don't know if it feels... Do some fun stuff here, like... water tower up here. Maybe it's got like a little pipe. Let's kind of get some rough shapes going here. Right on, Noah. Right on. Alright, I'll leave it in here for now. I'm going to make a decision later once I get to inking. Or like coloring, I mean. Whether it's on or off. It looks fine this way because I know the color will go in there. But this kind of has an interest to it, but I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it. So just turn this off. Yeah, go ahead, save. And we'll open up that other file. That one was in thumbnails. There we go. Okay, so this one's just to show things happening to the character. Again, just for context, this is, think of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you were a player handbook, kind of like an instruction manual, really, but for superheroes. So this is describing different kinds of hamstrings. If your character's power driven, you can't really use powers. If you got an arrow going through your arm, you know. Save as. We're gonna go into lines. Michael, did you get a chance to read Feathers yet? No, I don't think it's not. I can't really put a thing to it. Did you recommend it before? It's not even really ringing a bell. Alright, so her hand here is encased in ice. So I'm going to sort of design the ice first. And we're going to have the ice creeping up her arm here. That'll look pretty cool. It'll just kind of do the same thing. Trying to help use the perspective to guide the eye of where or what this is. But the coloring is really going to sell this ice. So what I'm thinking already to do for this, which is I think the standard when you're drawing ice, is it's got some transparency to it, right? It's frozen water. For those that don't know. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. And what I'll do is I definitely want the line art below to be there, even if it's just a little bit with very little detail. And then this I can kind of just put like a blue overlay over top of it, you know. What's that, Lars? Jonathan, I saw John Lee's post about a Kickstarter for the Standard Deluxe. Do I have any details? Do I have any juicy details? Well, I'll tell you. Well, basically, if you already told you what the title is, so it's my understanding that the standard is going to be released in, I guess they're calling it Deluxe, which is all 6 issues. I'm not sure if they're going to ask me to add anything to it. There's going to be a bunch of sketches and things that I've done for the project. I did recommend or ask if I could do a standard pinup to either get featured for the web page for the webcomic, which you guys can check out. That's up right now, or just something. So there's going to be a little bit of standard work this year. Nothing production level stuff. It'll mostly be pinups and all that kind of thing. But the Kickstarter should be up. I don't know when this year. A lot of Comics Tribes books, if you guys are familiar with Oxymoron, the Red 10, Scam, a lot of those, they do Kickstarters for these deluxe hardcovers. And the production quality is amazing in them. Absolutely. So check it out if you guys are interested. I don't know pricing. I don't know any of the actual things that matter to you guys besides the fact that it is coming out this year, providing there's the financial support and backing for it. But yeah, you guys can go check out right now. I don't know the website. Let me just take a quick check here. I have it on my Facebook, but let me just get it for everybody that's listening or watching the recorded version on YouTube, so you guys can check it out. I would like to talk about the standard. It's one of those projects that took a very long time, so my art quality, style, shortcomings, good drawings, bad drawings, shit days, great days. All of that is mixed in there. And since the book wasn't done in like, if I was doing that, let's say on a professional level, 6 issues should take you 6 months. Now you should probably notice, if anything, a little bit of increase in quality by the end of the last book, unless the person's wiped out. Okay, that's fair enough to say. That book took me, man, I want to say, I know it's at least 2 years. It feels gross to say more. Maybe 3 years to do. So there's such a jump in change of. That was the book that I first started doing digital, which I believe tomorrow's post. John Lees did an interview with me. And I will post it separately so you guys can check it out too, for those of you that aren't reading the webcomic. But it's crazy the range where somebody goes. So I look at a lot of this stuff and it's like I really don't want to show anybody. I'm proud of it. But it's like 2 to 4 years old artwork. And it's like I can do better now. I want a book out, and right now Worlds in Peril is that, right? Even though I've always been working on the standard, it's like when people hear about it, they go back to the beginning because that's where I'd want to go, right? You might look at my stuff now and go, well, I want to see more of his stuff, let's say, and you go and you look at the standard, and it's like, well, that shit was done in like 2011, 2012. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. And it's old work. Everybody gets like that, I think, when it comes to their artwork. But in saying all that, that doesn't mean anything. You guys can check it out and read it. Okay, I just found it here. Here, I'll just copy this for everybody that's in the chat right now. But if you're listening to YouTube, check out thestandard.comicstribe.com/comic/the. You know what? Screw that. Look in the description bar. I'll just put it in there. This is ridiculous. So you guys can check it out there. If it's not there, just check out thestandard.comicstribe.com. And Comics Tribe is spelled Comix, tribe, like a tribe of people. Anyway, so the interview, a very quick interview, just kind of like a Q&A kind of thing. It wasn't anything massive. Was just sort of talking about, that was the page where I went digital. How did that feel and stuff like that. So you guys can read up on that. But the short version is it's funny. You can look at what I was doing before, where it was pencils, and then I would try to darken them in Photoshop and clean it up, but it never got to where I was hoping that it would, and that's why I started to look to do digital. And John was gracious enough to say, you know what, go ahead, you can try doing a digital comic page. I told him that if the page turned out like shit, or if the quality was so different than what I was doing with pencil, I'll go back to just doing pencils. I don't, the guy's paying for all the pages. I didn't want him to feel like I was ripping him off all of a sudden, different art and stuff, because I don't want to do pencils anymore. Or I don't want to learn how to do traditional inking, scary stuff. But yeah, it's been a really long journey there. Lars, Jonathan, do you mind looking at my first original character? It's been 50. Okay, so we've got. All right, so here we go. Let me just save this up here. All right, so I'm going to check out Un's thing real quick. And Lars, by all means, post the link in here, and I'll check that out for you. Now, I will say, for everybody that's listening, when I do these critiques, it's. I try to be rough. A little aggressive, just to find a weakness in there that I see anyway, and you can always take what I say and just, who gives a shit? That's more than fine. But I'm trying to push people like I was pushed, and I wish I was pushed a little harder earlier in my art career, because I find that usually when you get that push, you either get better or you kind of just go, you know what, it's too mean out there. It's kind of, and I want to break people out of that shell, that that sensitivity thing. Young artists and stuff, I know they can be a little hesitant to stuff. They don't want to show people things and all that, but I don't want people to hide behind like a blanket of, well, everybody else in your life is telling you it's good, but then people that might get you a job, not that I can get you a job, but editors or something will look and they're like, oh, we need to fix this, this, and that. And you kind of go, well, they didn't have to say it like that. you know. So that's all to say. Go out there, try to get people to beat the shit out of your artwork, and I think the more of that happens, and it sort of trains you to be a little bit more critical, so that when you put stuff out there, you hear what people are trying to tell you, and you can see what, or you can visualize what they're telling you, and then it's up to you to determine if that's garbage that they're saying, if that's just, well, I wouldn't do that because my style is this and that, as opposed to, well, the perspective's off or your figure drawing's off, that kind of thing, right? So I just want to put that out there, and by, I don't get, you guys know I don't get too gross with you guys. Okay, so I don't know what this is, so the first thing I'm going to ask is, what am I looking at here? Off the top of my head, like, it's not a comic. Um, I could see it's more like an illustrated an illustrated story, which I guess is a comic, but it's not. Oh, they're warm ups. Okay, cool. Okay, so there we go. We got a context to what we're doing. What? Let me just check this out here. Okay, I think I clicked. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. So that's a warm up. Okay, so let me just. We don't need this. Let's just. Oh my gosh. Please just let me get my window. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh, you guys are talking about warm ups. Okay, that's my problem there. Okay, so Lars is first up here. And okay, so what are we doing with this one? Okay, so there's some color. I'm actually going to bring this into Photoshop. I'm not comfortable with Manga Studio's coloring and stuff. You Okay, so file new and paste. Okay. And we'll full screen it. All right, cool. So we got this little demon dude. Awesome. Looks good. I like the color. I think the color looks really awesome. So first impressions, I would look at it, and it looks good. There's some things that we're going to talk about that I would change. Again, you can tell me to just fuck myself. That's fine. I'm willing to fuck myself. Okay, so one little nitpick I will put out there is something I recommend doing, and this is just a style thing that I do, is don't put your signature in white. I know why you do that. I know why a lot of people do that, is you want it to stand out. You want people to know it's you, okay? But what makes this look better is if you pick a color that you've already used in here, okay? So you could make this something that's going to pop off this brown, right? Like that could be, I don't know. Can I do this with this? Let's see, image, adjust, hue, saturation, color as. Give me a second here. Looking for yellow. I'll go yellowish brown. Okay, so something like that. It's still there. It's not in your face. I remember when I was growing up doing this stuff, I always had my signature there. I tried to get creative with the signature so that everybody would know Jar did it, Jonathan did it. He's the guy, right? You're trying to build it up, trying to find your style, all that bull stuff. And then if you actually start looking at, if this looks like it's more of a concept art piece, which is awesome. I'm all about that. If you look at a lot of concept artists, very few of them put like a giant white signature. What they'll do is they're pulling color because that signature is on this picture, and this picture is about this guy, right? So if we were just even do this, image crop, okay, image crop. There we go. So if that was the image right there, look how much better that just looks, right? Like it's a character shot. There's no, you've kind of got, he's in the background, he's got some stuff going on. Awesome. It feels more, it's about him. You don't need the signature's there to put it in, but if you make it white, then it draws your eye to it right away. And it's not, it just feels a little tacky sometimes. Okay, but anyway. So we got that. You've got all this environment. Again, I would still crop it in tighter unless you were trying to show the place that this character's in. Sometimes, like when I see this, it sort of feels like the character was drawn and then the background was drawn afterwards. So having a little bit of thought before you start sometimes will go a little longer. And the reason I say that is because there's no real reason for these trees to be here. To know that he's in a forest, that's one thing. Okay. One thing we can do is the rule of thirds, and I'm going to crop it here just so you can kind of see. So we've got this big document. Let me actually grab white brush. What's that look like? Okay. So I'm just eyeballing here. This is a photography technique, I think, or a cinematography technique. And what you're trying to do is put something that's important in one of these four corners, okay? So knowing that, I'm just going to move this guy around. Probably put his head like right here. His hand's kind of getting cut off. Let's see if we can figure something out. All right, we're going to go like this here. And let's just make it a little bit bigger. I don't want to cut his feet off, so we'll put it like at his eye. His eye is the focus there. Okay, so when you have him in here, it just sort of makes it like a little, that's the composition. Just if you're trying to put in a lot of this background information as well. Let me just, it's been a little while since I did some digital painting over top here. So bear with me here. Just trying to build this up here. Got all my hotkeys turned off. Oh man. Okay, so you get the point. So what I'm trying to do here is, let me just see. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. You're saying that, Lars. I'm not sure if I was there, but I've missed some of the streams. Yeah, no problem. I don't recommend everybody watch all my stuff. That's kind of conceited. If you're able to, cool. If not, don't worry about it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is just build this guy out, just to fix his hand. You know, like you could have his hand, like I don't know, up here or something. I really don't like his hand there, to be honest with you, but I'm just trying to be pretty quick about this. He's got his hands in here or something. Ugh. Okay. So the next thing that I would do here with this kind of stuff is, this is a big thing, okay? Because I can see it already, and I'm only being able to see this because I've been at work. Where I work, guys, I have to do a lot of color. Normally, when I do my comic book stuff, it's all just black and white line art, no color, maybe rarely. But since my day job now, where I have to do a lot of color, I've had to spend a little bit of time, is whatever time I can afford, to try to understand some stuff about color, color wheels, harmonies, value, saturation. There's so much; it's insane. It's insane. I'm not even close to what I need to be. Okay, but some of the things that I've seen, I can start to see things in a different light. One thing is, this entire image is way too saturated. It's very hard for your eye to figure out where to look. What you did do correct, that I will say, which is awesome, is this character is very hot, very warm. There's a lot of yellows, reds, and oranges. Great, great stuff. And the background's cool. You got these blues and these greens. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm just going to show you something here. We're going to make a click on this little black and white cookie thing. We're going to go black and white. And what this does right away is it shows you where there's errors without you really knowing it. And now if you look at it, nothing like it's all sort of the same. It's all, yeah, that's where we're going right now, the tonal stuff. Um, Yeah, no, I would highly recommend. Please don't ask me to do color tutorials because I can't give the correct stuff. I can just sort of give you my perspective from what I limitedly know. Uh, there's so many more people out there that are amazing. Definitely check it out if you're going to be doing concept art. Start looking at, and I'm sure you are, but start looking at some serious concept artists. Okay, so I just want to turn this off so you can see here. Check this out. This is how cool this trick is, just with that little value on there. Look at his pec. Look how awesome that is. You got the highlight, the shadow. Looks awesome. When you put the black and white on, it's gone. There's no shadow anymore. There's nothing on there. All of a sudden it's flat. Like how's that possible, right? Like look at all the muscle you've got rendered out. It looks great. Like the color is telling me this looks awesome. His face, everything. Then when you put this on there, it's like okay, well now his face just looks like line art. How's that happening? And here's another trick you can do. I'm going to open up my window here and I'm just going to start eyedropping colors. Everything is saturated. None of this is being used. I would argue even in the background, okay, so it's dark, but it's still saturated. Even your backgrounds are all over here, okay? So one real quick trick we're going to do, of bashing your stuff here. This is going to be a little tricky to do. There's a couple things you can do. Let's turn this off. I'm going to do a Control-Alt. Control Shift Copy and Control Paste. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do here is I'm just going to try grabbing my lasso brush and I'm just going to make a really disgusting lasso selection. Okay. And I'm just going to use this cookie again because there's a lot of layers. What's really cool about this is you can do layer effects and then just turn the layer off without changing the image. Okay. Hue saturation. We're going to knock that saturation like way down. Way down. You could even probably turn the lightness down a little bit. Like you can see where some of this is coming in where it looks a little gross. Okay. But when we put the black and white over top, do you see the range that's happening here? Let me turn it off here. Okay, so this is what you had, and this is what I've added. It's very subtle, but it's giving the eye something else to focus on here. Okay. And don't be afraid. I was when I was doing this sort of thing as well. I was very scared because if you look at this, right, like you had this really cool purple, man. That's tits. That's awesome. And you look at this, you're like, ugh, it's purple, but it's not that good looking, right? Maybe it's like I want more flash in there. Look at all this range you've still got to play in, right? Even though you're starting down here, it's still light. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of just paint over this stuff as best as I can. It's hard to be able to just paint on this because you got a lot of effects going on, which are pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and just put like a big dark. And even this guy here, I was black that whole thing out. Well, no. Alright, so let's just take another look here. So check this out, right? We're going to have this. I'm just going to make some more cuts in here. Some trees and stuff. You've got all this room to check out. We're going to go here. I want the background to stay cool. I don't want it to get warm at all, right? So if you're going from this dark blue, think of a color wheel. You always want to be... let's see if I can bring a color wheel up here just to kind of talk about this. I don't want to spend too much time on here because coloring is such a massive topic that the whole day could be just spent just talking with you guys about it. Where's the first color wheel I see? Come on, load. Cool. Copy image. Let's paste it in. Cool. It's real gross. Okay, somebody's actually bringing in a very good comment here. Lars is all Nintendo. Jar is all Xbox Live. What they're talking about, and it's I'm glad you actually brought that up. Because the saturation you had before, if you think of Super Mario, everything's highly saturated. And it looks great, right? And Xbox is like Gears of War, Call of Duty. Everything's brown and ugh. I love both. What I'm trying to do is just explain the easiest way. I think even if you're going saturated, and I just sort of just want to talk about this in my defense here for you. If you were going to go the Super Mario Nintendo stuff, like see how you're all up in the top right? Start coming into here. You can still be saturated and have all of this stuff and all of these colors. Don't just hang around here because that's where you can kind of get in trouble. Okay, so if you look at the color wheel here, right now our color is right around here, right? So the coolest that we're going here is like navy blue. That's the coldest that we can get to, right? You start going into the greens, you're getting closer to the warm stuff. You want to be staying around the purple, which is kind of getting warm. There's dark blue to like this aqua kind of blue kind of color, okay? So just always remember that. So we can still get some highlights in here. So we're going to pick that purple. Remember what I just said? We need to start going into the blue. So we're going to slide it down into the blue. We're going to bring it up. Maybe make it a little more saturated. You don't got to go too crazy. You can just kind of see how it feels, right? All right, we're kind of getting there. Get some blues kind of happening in here. You know, you got to build her up. Maybe just go a little more blue here. And that's how you'll start to push that stuff that's back there. Like, don't get me wrong, this is actually starting to look a little gross back there. But that's kind of where we're going. As for this cat here, again, with that black and white layer, you can see right away what's going on. The one thing somebody did bring up in the chat, which is an excellent idea that you can do, is, let me just find the layer that this is on. I'm going to duplicate this guy. Bring it up here. Okay, so this is without all the stuff I just added. Oops. Okay, so we're lagging out here. Come on, Photoshop. So that's without the blue, okay, just so you can see this is the original piece. So you can go in here with just that, select your layer, and what we're going to do is we're just going to make a new layer. You can do, I believe it's multiply. That's the first one I'm going to work with is multiply. And I'm going to use, I don't want to use black. It's kind of whatever. We're going to go purplish blue. I'm just going to do a quick swipe. Okay, cool. So if I turn the black off, there you go. You can kind of see the range we're getting there with that, okay? So what you can do is you can go in here and go, all right, so now I know that. Let's start building up some range. So we got light source coming from here and here. So all in here, if there's going to be any shadow at all, it's going to be in the middle of his face. Oops. Under his eyes, maybe all this in here is going to have some shadow on it. This is going to be the last thing here for you guys here. What's that, sorry? I can take a look later, blah, 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 blah. Fix the fire here too. Well, that's the thing too, like, yeah, this, I'm going to assume, and hopefully you don't get upset with me here, this doesn't exist. Let's just, okay, I can't really get around this right now. But I'm lighting this as if he doesn't have fire here. 3 light sources is pretty intense. So I'm just going to dark it out. Maybe it's just orange here. This side you'd have a cast shadow. Put over here. All in here is going to be just caked in shadow. You were right with the pecs. Having their shadow up here. Lighting's always fun to think about. So come in here. Yeah, you're right back here. There's a point where light's going to start hitting certain areas. So I'm just trying to build a little bit of it up here. So if light was coming here, it's hitting that under here, but you've got that side, so I would probably put all this in shadow. Just casting a shadow. Okay, so just by doing that, here we'll try it here. We'll turn the black and white off there. Okay, so do you see what's happened here? I'm going to turn it on and off here. So this is just be with this is the original one, and this is with just a multiply layer with an airbrush, a gross um, shadow on there. And you can even go up here with the shadow too, like image adjust, hue saturation. So you know reds. Here, we'll talk about this real quick. So red's up here. You went to the purple for the shadow, which is cool. I've already gone there. You could go to the green for an opposite color, which kind of feels weird, but what the hell? It's digital, right? So you can go ahead and you can just start sliding around. Maybe you'll find one that you like. Like maybe green does look good. I don't think so, but you can try it out, right? And the very last thing I'll say for you, because again, like I say, this thing I think is too saturated. If we even just bring that hue saturation back up here one more time. See, like if you can just knock out the background a little bit more, his eye, like things start focusing on him a little bit more here, right? But the very last thing here is I would make a new layer. Let me get my hey Cannon, what's up, buddy? Get that going, and doing some rim light here. And this is, I guess, going back to that comment with the Xbox. But just having a little bit of this can go a long way to build out some volume here for you. Right, like all these areas that are getting hit by this fire that's right here. Okay, so just zoom out so you can see there, okay? So there you go. I'm just going to turn that on and off again just so you can see just what that one layer does, that extra highlight layer, just what that does here. Check it out. You see that? Now, here's a fun thing just so you can check out. The reason why when you go black and white, why it doesn't look very good is because it's white on white or yellow on yellow, right? So if we go in here and go image adjust hue saturation, we're going to crank it up to white. You can see where it's popping now, right? Because it's actually going white, not yellow. So if it looks good in grayscale, it's always going to look good in color. Arguably. It does look kind of gross. Anyway. No, I haven't read any Punch Man. No. Okay, well, I guess that's it, you guys. I'm going to take off. Thank you for submitting the art for a critique there. Really appreciate it. And thanks again for sticking around while we were doing some perspective work, all that fun stuff. I'll just do a real quick recap here so you guys that are watching on YouTube or whatever, we'll see where we go for the next one. You guys can follow me here at picarto.tv. I'll be working on this stuff throughout the week and the weekend, so you guys can check it out. So we got just a quick 3 panels here for Worlds in Peril, and we also worked on the background image, should be this one, for this, which we're gonna have some ships coming in with some explosions and stuff. I'm still not sold on that shadow there, but you know that's for something else. But anyway, so again, thank you guys so much, and if you guys would be so awesome. At the bottom there, you can click on share on Tumblr, tweet, Google share, Facebook share, all that stuff. Anybody that's helping me out by spreading the love and spreading the word, I really appreciate it. You guys don't have to do that. So the fact that you are doing that it's a big thing. So I really appreciate it. It's very humbling that you guys even come in here and spend some time with me and ask me questions. So if I'm able to help you guys out, awesome, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, if you came in now, the show is every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you came in a little bit late, just look at your clock right now and subtract an hour and 15 minutes from now, and that's when it starts next Wednesday. But like I had just said a little earlier, the top here on picarto.tv, you can click the link. It says follow. You'll receive an email notification whenever the stream kicks up. I do stream throughout the week. It's usually just music. Sometimes I'll have a headset on. Depends on if I'm in the mood and I'm in the groove. We're just hammering at work. Or sometimes there's some people in there bringing up some interesting conversation. So we can always check that out. And if you're watching this on YouTube, awesome. Send me a message over YouTube. Let me know where you guys saw the video and all that cool stuff. And if you guys wanted to head on over to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector, any kind of support there, again, awesome. If not, maybe share it with a buddy of yours or a friend of yours. They might be able to be into it. I've got some brushes and stuff like that on Manga Studio that you guys can check out there. And Kanan's just asking here, I'm just going to throw it out there. He's asking if you can watch old episodes on here. The only way you can do that on Picarto is if I got a premium membership, which I think is $10 a month, which is kind of weird. But all of my recorded Ustreams, they're up on YouTube, so you can check them out. These ones, they go up on the weekend. So you can look forward to that if you want, if you're interested. But anyway, again, thank you guys so much. Until next Wednesday, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you then. Bye.